Shout Factory sent me along a review copy of the 1986 sequel to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre called Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Now, there's a few weeks, I think, before this actually is in stores, but because it's actually one of my favorite films of the horror genre, I figured I would go ahead and do a review now, even ahead of my written review on the website. If you've never seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, then you'll probably want to know that it is absolutely nothing like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, other than it has, a few of the same characters. Leatherface is there, and the cook is, of course, there. Of course, it also introduces a bunch of crazy elements into it, which may be because it was a Canon production. It may also be because Tobe Hooper was kind of like at the end of his cares to give when he decided to make this film for Canon. And it's just a bizarre film, but at the same time, it's an extremely entertaining film. Taking place, I want to say, 17 years after the events of the first one. You get Tobe Hooper, basically, Tobe Hooper directing. You basically get Dennis Hopper playing this very overacting, I guess you could say, character in Lefty, but it's very, very entertaining nonetheless. And he teams up with a DJ named Stretch, played by Caroline Williams, who is called by some frat boys just before they are killed by Leatherface at the beginning of the film. And, of course, nobody really wants to do anything because it's the big Texarkana football game or whatever it is going on. So he kind of takes matters into his own hands with her, and that kind of draws out Leatherface and, of course, Bill Moseley in what I would say is his probably most iconic role in Chop Top. When I think of Bill Moseley, I think of Chop Top, I think of Otis, and I kind of think of his character from Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 to a lesser extent. But if you don't love Leatherface, you have Chop Top, and he's probably just as memorable, if not more so, than Leatherface in this one. Although I would say all three of the main villains are highly entertaining and a lot of fun while they're on screen, as is pretty much everybody in this movie. Of course, Caroline Williams has a buddy that works at the radio station with her. LG, he's a very Texas character and a very entertaining character as well. There's a lot of comedic value here to this, but there's also a lot of maybe bizarre, disturbing elements to it as well. It really plays off the dark humor. There's a scene where Dennis Hopper goes and he buys the chainsaws, which is really cool. There's, of course, the opening scene, which is great. That's also probably where one of the better gore effects of this one comes into play, although the film does have quite a bit of gore, even if it doesn't have necessarily the biggest body count of the series. It is still very, very bizarrely entertaining. And actually, I will say I like it better than I do the original for some reason. It may be because when I was a kid, this was the one I rented first, and this is the one I watched first from the video store. Really bizarre, but like I said, it's very, very entertaining. And of course, Scream Factory, as you can see, has went all out with this, with the newly commissioned artwork. I always like it when they go and they do new art for that. I think that looks great. This is, of course, the slipcase. And if you don't like that, there is, we'll get to the content here in a second, there is the classic VHS art as the Breakfast Club style art there, if I can get it to quit glaring. That is what the video store had when I was a kid. Not that I have anything in the world against Dennis Hopper, but I remember when I bought the DVD some years ago, it only had him on the cover, and I thought that was kind of disappointing when I liked that. But when it comes to this and the newly commissioned art, I will keep that all the time over the old art, just because I like that. If it didn't have a hole in it for me in a review copy, I might flip the inside one, but it isn't that big of a deal to me because I actually like that stuff. I like the art a lot better. And as far as features go, this thing is loaded. 2 discs worth of stuff. We'll get into the nitty-gritty here on it in a second, but I will say that if you're wanting to know if it looks better now, because it is a new 2K transfer, yes, it looks 10 times better, in my opinion, than the old Fox release. I believe it was Fox that released the old Blu-ray. I actually have that as well. And I think this looks a whole lot better than that. And you can tell a difference pretty early into the film. And you can tell a difference like when they get underground to that little area, which is probably when the film really gets rolling. That's when you get some cool, cook dialogue there. But nonetheless, as far as the transfer goes, it's head and shoulders, in my opinion, above the old one. But if you do want to compare a little bit, the second disc does actually have the original HD master on here, which I think is probably the same one from that other Blu-ray. So you can compare yourself, and if you don't like the new one for whatever reason, you still have the old one. But now, as far as the whole shebang of extras, let me go here and read this. We have the new 2K HD scan from the Interpositive Film Elements. Like I said, looks amazing. In my opinion, it's the best this film will probably ever look. New audio commentary with director of photography Richard Curris, production designer Kerry White, script supervisor Laura Curris, and property master Michael Sullivan. Audio commentary with director Toby Hooper. Audio commentary with actor Bill Moseley, Caroline Williams, and special effects makeup creator Tom Savini. That is disc 1. Although disc 1 also does have deleted scenes from the documentary that is on disc 2, and it has an alternate opening title sequence as well, but it doesn't say that on the back of this, unless it mistakenly has it listed under the second disc. So let me see. Disc 2, the original HD master. New House of Pain, an interview with makeup effects artists Bart Mixon, Gabe Bartolas, and Gino Crognale. New Yuppie, it's a new feature, Yuppie made an interview with actors Chris Dorides and Barry Kenyon. Sorry for butchering y'all's names, but they are the Guppies, or the Yuppies, or whatever you want to call them, from the beginning of the film. They get an interview here. Cutting Moments, an interview with editor Alan Jukalpich. Must be some of the Canon crew. I don't know. It's on Behind the Mask, an interview with stuntman and Leatherface performer Bob Elmore, who I think is a great Leatherface. He says a lot just by eye movement in this one and expressions, which is good when your character doesn't really talk. So probably my favorite Leatherface, for better or worse, even though he's a bit more of a cartoony Leatherface. Horror's Hallowed Grounds, revisiting the locations of the film. And the 85-minute documentary, It Runs in the Family, alternate opening credit sequence, deleted scenes, and more. Of course, like I said, I've told you what the more is. It's on disc 1. But as far as Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 fans go, this is the one you want if you are thinking of revisiting this or picking it up maybe for the first time, because I do believe that this is the best version you're going to get out there. I haven't seen the Arrow one. I know there's a big Arrow set out there. I don't have that one. Maybe one day, but not right now. But as far as I'm aware of, and as far as what I've seen, this is the way to go. So this will be released soon-ish. You can always check Amazon or check Shout Factory's website or on Facebook. But so far, another great release. Probably the best from Scream Factory so far this year overall. Great movie, great look, transfer, and great extra features. So this is definitely Scream Factory's top thing so far this year, in my opinion. Of course, I'm a little biased, but if you don't believe me, you can check it out for yourself.